What is going on, everybody? Welcome back, or maybe just welcome. This is Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio, and on today's show, Andrew and I are going to talk about the pros and cons of developing your own instructors for your school or schools versus hiring them, more like you would a conventional position. There's some good stuff. We'll get into some good stuff. Stick around. I think you'll enjoy it. And, I suspect even if you don't own a school or have no aspirations of owning a school, I think you're still going to find some interesting stuff about this. It's all about culture. Now, if you're new to martial arts radio, you're probably also new to Whistlekick, where everything we do is in support of the traditional martial arts. No matter what you do, no matter where in the world you are, if you are a traditional martial artist, we're not going to tell you you're not. We're not going to tell you what you train is bad or wrong or dumb or a waste of time. We simply value that you train, and we appreciate that you are here watching or listening to this show. And if you want to see all the things that we do as a company to connect, educate, and entertain, that is our mantra. Go to whistlekick.com. You're going to find a bunch of stuff over there, from our relationship with Martial Journal to the Matic training umbrella to our training programs. In fact, you can buy those programs in our store and save 15% using the code podcast15. When you're done, head on over to whistlekickmartialartsradio.com. It's a special website just for this show, where we post every single episode we've ever done, as well as transcripts, which makes searching stuff super easy, as well as links, photos, videos, social media from the guests, tons of cool stuff. Check it out. See what you think. We sort episodes by style. There's a lot. There's a lot of cool stuff. Now, if all this stuff that we do makes you say, yay, go Whistlekick, please consider supporting us. And you got a lot of ways you can do it. You could leave us a review: Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, pretty much anywhere but Yelp. I don't care about Yelp. Anywhere you can leave a review, by all means, please do it. It helps us. It's quick. And if you say, oh, I'm not quite sure where I could find those reviews, what did Jeremy say again? Maybe you consider going to the family page, whistlekick.com/family. It's a special page we set up for the people who most want to help us. And we give you a little bit back because, as you know, it's all about value exchange. We post stuff over there we post nowhere else. It's completely exclusive stuff.
One of the best ways I like people to help, tell a friend. If you're listening to this episode and you enjoy it, tell a friend.
It's the one that surprises me the most that doesn't happen. Right? Because it's fast, it's easy, and your friends would appreciate it. Think about when you found out about this show. Don't you wish you'd known about it sooner? I assume you didn't learn about martial arts radio and say, I'm glad I didn't know about this sooner. I found the show at the exact perfect time, and anything before right now would have been bad and made my life worse. So think about that. Don't deny, don't say no for people. Right? It's something that I one of my mantras with my clients. Don't say no for other people. Give them the opportunity, because they will appreciate it much more than you think.
Yeah.
Do we say Patreon? We have a Patreon. Patreon.com/whistlekick starts at $2 a month. Goes up from there. Tons of good stuff. And you should check it out. And you'll like it. Because everybody else does. All right. Andrew, if you own a school, if you're running a school, even if it's a small school, there's probably a time when you can't make it to class. You're sick.
Yep.
You want to go on vacation. All the way up to, hey, I have a full-time school with half a dozen or more classes per day.
Yep.
And there are still more people who want to take my classes. In fact, I could probably run 2 classes at a time, but how am I in 2 places at once?
Exactly. And even if you don't have 2 classes at a time, with all those classes, how long could your body handle doing that for that long?
So it becomes inevitable, whether it's kind of the first sort of situations that I posed or that latter one, where having some help, having assistant instructors or full instructors or whatever you call them,
Yep.
in your school or a group of schools becomes really advantageous. Now, here's the problem that, to my knowledge, every martial arts instructor ever has bumped into. How do I have those people? Because if I start a program tomorrow, assuming I don't grandfather people in, it's going to be at least a few years until I have someone of a high rank, someone that I might expect has the knowledge, skill, and teaching ability to run a class on their own.
Yep.
But within a few years, I'm probably going to want to take a vacation or take a break or, I don't know, be ill. Maybe I don't want to be ill, but it's probably going to happen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And in those circumstances, you absolutely could close your school.
You could.
That's an option.
And that is what a lot of schools do. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
But if you do it too often, people say, I'm going to find a new school.
Yeah. Why am I paying for a monthly tuition when the school is always closed 1 week a month?
Yep. So that's when a lot of people say, all right, I want a formal relationship with someone, whether they're an employee or not, to help me with my martial arts school. Great. So now, yeah, I made you yawn, didn't I? I wonder if the audience is yawning now. So what do? Do you train them from within? Do you hire them from outside? And this is the challenge.
Yeah.
And people have very strong feelings about this. A lot of people have very strong feelings. You have to develop your talent from inside. Other people say, there is no way I can develop the talent I need fast enough in a large growing school. I have to hire from outside most of the time.
There's definitely
an upside and a downside to both.
Exactly.
Let's dig in.
I think for the smaller schools, I think it makes the most sense to use someone within the school already. I train in a school where there are approximately 20 students total, and we are fortunate that my instructor has me and another couple of fairly advanced students that could step in. You know, I teach. I mean, basically, I'm the one that if he can't make it, I will be the one teaching. But if something happened last minute and I couldn't, there is another person that I could talk to. But we are a small enough school that we can get that works. But if the higher ranked students weren't there, it would be an issue.
Now, what we're talking about is, I think the biggest division we need to make in type of school is the one person's wearing all the hats.
Yep.
Versus separate hats. And if you've only been exposed to small schools, let me break out those hats. You've got the teaching responsibility. You've got the sort of front desk welcoming people, maybe sales responsibility. You've got training students on their first day or first couple days responsibility. These are all separate in a lot of schools. You've got the, hey, how are all these classes running, and are we making sure that the curriculum is what's being taught? Program director sort of responsibility.
Yep.
Most martial arts instructors wear more than one of those hats, but in larger schools, those hats are very separate. They're on different people. And I think it's important to recognize the differences in those hats, because even if you wear them all, knowing what hat you're wearing and which ones you're putting down, putting on at various times are really helpful. If I have a small school, or the example you're talking about, you can probably work with someone coming in on their first day. But maybe those senior students that you have in your school, you don't really want that. So if someone contacts you and they say, I want to start tonight, you say, you know what? I hate to do this to you, but this isn't a great night to start. The head instructor's gone. I'm ill, and we've got some higher ranks filling in, and they're competent teachers, but they're not great at managing the class in such a way that they can both bring you in and get you up to speed and run the class.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you wait until Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, people will probably wait until Thursday, but it's kind of a bummer that when someone's excited,
absolutely,
that has to happen. No. Yeah. And this is why it can be really difficult in any business to have businesses of a certain size, right? A really, really small business is difficult. As it gets a little bigger, it gets a little easier. but quite often it gets there's a hole, right, where you have a lot of demands and not enough people. And that's the point where I see a lot of martial arts schools do one of two things. They push forward and they hire people, or they go and they pull back
Yep.
because
Yep.
it stinks being in that hole. Because
Yep.
you're either
Absolutely.
working all the time, doing everything yourself with no breaks and frankly not enough money to justify that, or you've got to move one side or the other. Have you been in circumstances where an outside instructor has been hired in?
No, I have not. I know of them,
Mm-hmm.
but and there is a school here in town that we we will definitely talk about as we get move forward in this discussion that has done that. But I myself have never been at a school that has done that.
Yep. So if we think about, I'm thinking of two things right now that I think are the biggest challenge in hiring outside versus bringing up and educating from within. Any guesses on the two things I'm thinking of?
My guess would be how things are done curriculum wise
Mm-hmm.
and personality.
Curriculum and culture.
Yeah, there we go.
If you hire someone from outside, even if they train in the same style and system, they're going to do things a little bit differently. Their curriculum is going to be a little bit different, and their culture is going to be different. I've never been in two martial arts schools that do things exactly the same. There's a
Yep.
different vibe. That's a good thing. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't find a way to turn that to an asset, but it's the thing that I think everyone needs to be really aware of. Now, since this is a pros and cons of this decision episode, what are the pros of hiring an instructor from outside?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest ones is the fact that students do get to see how things are done differently.
Mhm.
Even if it is the same style, quote unquote, but they get to learn different ways of doing the same thing.
There's a diversity in
Yep.
both curriculum and in culture that you get to expose your students to if you hire someone in from outside. If you do it right, you get to pick their brain. You get to do all the things that they've seen go well. You get to test them, implement them, at least talk about them. You get to avoid the pitfalls that that person has seen. Quite
Yep.
often, those folks will have taught at multiple schools, so you're getting a whole bunch of information, which can be really really advantageous. You're also getting someone who is, let's face it, a professional.
Mhm.
If they are a professional instructor, if they want to be an instructor as their job, they're probably a pretty good instructor. They're probably really good at doing what they do. They probably understand that showing up on time and respecting your wishes and holding to the curriculum and making sure retention is a priority are all valued. Those are things that are going to be important to them, most likely, maybe not in every case. Whereas if the attitude in your school is, hey, nobody else can teach, I need you to teach, that often leads to resentment and
Yeah.
frustration. And I've seen that. I've seen it blow up schools.
Another benefit is that for the students, it can seem like something special.
Mhm. We are doing so well. We are growing so much that I needed help. Thank you to all of you. Welcome, Mrs., Mr., Sensei Master
Whatever.
Smith.
I mean, I'm thinking of it in terms of there are schools that I know you have gone to instruct at, and the students are excited. Oh, Sensei Jeremy's coming! Like, yay! Like it becomes like a reward. It can feel like that to the students that have a school presence,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
as opposed to this. Oh, Sensei's not here. Oh, Andrew's teaching. But Andrew teaches all the time, so it's not like that big of a thing.
Right. Now, of course, if you're hiring a professional instructor, if you're bringing someone in from outside, hopefully they're there more than, just once in a while. But there is nothing wrong. And there are schools that have substitutes. Can you cut this class? Right? Maybe you set up a reciprocal relationship with schools in your area. Hey, if I'm sick or on vacation, would one of your upper rank students be willing to come in and teach? And somebody who's been here for a while that I trust responsibly, regardless of their rank, can manage opening the doors. right? There's a way to do that. That's outside the scope of really what we're talking about here, but it's something that maybe we do another episode on. It's something
Mm.
worth considering. Okay. What are some of the ways that promotion up or that hiring in can go poorly? Here's a hint. It has nothing to do with martial arts.
I mean, personality and just the. I mean, like we talked about earlier, they just might not gel with students.
Do they fit with the culture? Are their reasons for training at least similar to others' reasons for training?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm if I've got a school where the majority of students are there, they're hardcore training, they like leaving class with bruises, and maybe classes are a little smaller and it's kind of aggressive and the gym is smelly, and you get somebody who comes in and they're like, today we're going to work on musical forms.
Mm-hmm.
Might not jive. People might
Yep.
go, what? We've never done that before, right? Now, of course, you could do that and have a culture of once in a while I'm going to throw, things for me from out of left field,
Yep.
and you got to roll with it. But yes, regardless of what you're hiring for, what the position is, what the industry, there needs to be a culture fit. And sometimes people get excited about credentials and they neglect testing the fit.
Yep. Yep.
How could we test the fit? If someone was interested, if I've got my eye on somebody, I'm like, I think this could work. How can I find out?
Well, I mean, the simplest, easiest way is to go to a class that they teach. Whether it could be, if it's, for example, an instructor at another school, maybe you go to one of their classes,
Mhm.
or maybe you ask them, hey, I would be interested in having you potentially come in and teach my students every once in a while. Would you mind coming and doing a trial run? I'll be in the back of the class
Sure.
taking class while you teach my students.
Sure. And I want to be clear. You mentioned it more as a substitute thing. I think it applies regardless, whether they're coming in and teaching temporarily or whether you've expanded your school and now you need an evening youth class instructor or
Yep.
a midday instructor, right? Whatever these the the implications might be different, but the way you hire and suss out what this person's strengths are and their ability to fit is not, it doesn't change. Okay. I think you're absolutely right. Observing them in their environment is great. They might be leaving that school. They may, be treating it like a job. Please don't show up at my job and evaluate me for a new job. So
Yep.
maybe it's, hey, I want you to come teach a class or a few classes. You have to, as with any job interview, you have to know what you're trying to find. What is the personality type of the person you need? How do you determine that in the most
Mhm.
authentic way possible? If you ask them, we're looking for someone who integrates well into our culture, someone who will respect our curriculum, someone who shows up on time. Are you those things? They're probably going to say yes. That's
Yep.
not the best way to do it.
No.
I've
Nope.
hired plenty of people over the years whose best day was their interview.
Yeah. I've seen it as well.
So, what are other ways we can evaluate a potential instructor?
You can talk to students that they've had.
Talk to other people, talk to
Yeah.
people they have worked
Yep.
for or with, talk to their coworkers. It's all the same stuff as with a job. I think quite often in the martial arts industry, we forget that when we're talking about teaching classes, yes, there is a specialized skill set that goes with it, but so is there with everything else. You
Yep.
teach drumming. The
Hmm.
teaching part is the same. The things that make you a good teacher make you a good teacher, would make you a good teacher in a public school, would make you a good teacher of swim lessons. The drumming is specific and a skill that you need. Most martial arts business owners are looking for the drumming, the martial arts, and they're forgetting about the other stuff, and it gets them into trouble.
Yeah. Makes sense.
How about offloading this to a certain degree and putting together a search committee?
Interesting.
Grab some of your higher ranked students, people that you
Hmm.
really trust, and say, we need an instructor. I need your help in evaluating people that I bring in, as well as recommendations that you may have from talking to your networks of people who might fit in here.
Now, if you have enough people of that rank to form a committee, you probably don't need to find somebody.
It depends. It depends on the age of the school, right? I
Yep.
could totally see. There are a lot of people for whom um, rank carries a credential for teaching, and it doesn't. But you may want someone of a certain rank for marketing purposes or some other
Yeah.
reason, and maybe you have a bunch of brown belts or red belts or first degree or
Yeah.
second degree, and you want someone who's a fourth degree or fifth degree or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that case, that would be relevant, right? It doesn't have to be that way. My shirt keeps riding up. I apologize. I'm trying not to show you my tattoos. Um, I guess I've gotten bigger. I need larger shirts. Totally lost my train of thought. So let's go back. How might you evaluate hiring someone from inside? We just talked about a whole bunch of things that are important. How do you look internally on bringing someone up, so to speak?
Well, I mean, I think this is a process that starts, in my opinion, years before they're
Mhm.
actually teaching. Like if I
Ideally.
have I mean, ideally, and we've talked about before that. I think you and I are both in agreement that you don't have to be a black belt to teach.
Right.
That you can have a green belt, a mid rank, teaching a white belt, a beginner,
Mhm.
something basic. You can start instilling those skills on how to teach or way earlier on, so
Sure.
that by the time they are a brown belt or a black belt, they're already teaching. I mean, we both know phenomenal black belts that are not good teachers,
Mhm.
and
And
conversely, some phenomenal teachers that are not black belts. The two are not mutually exclusive. They don't have to be connected.
the ability to know and the ability to do and the ability to teach are very distinct.
Absolutely. So, how do you determine of your students who will make good teachers? I mean, that's something that you start looking at long before you even consider them being a teacher.
Yeah. I fully agree. In fact, I would go even earlier. I think there is if you have somebody that's there day two, there's no reason they can't help teach day one.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean you're sending them off on their own and saying, all right, go teach the brand new students. But it could be, all right, we're splitting everybody up. I know that if I put people in pairs, there's going to be a little bit of conversation. Let me make sure that the people who know some stuff are with some people who know less,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you can do it that way. And you start to watch, okay, this person's got some talent. This person has some skill teaching. They have a desire to teach.
Yep.
And whether you look at something like the teacher trainings that we offer, or there are other organizations that offer that, or you kind of build it your own, all totally fine. But it's something that can be encouraged from a young age. Now, I am going to say that in a school that is, I would say, very healthy and has a good inflow of students and good retention, if you do everything really well, you probably don't need to hire from outside.
Hmm.
Now, there are reasons you might want to. We talked about some of those,
Yep.
but you probably do not need to, because as you said, you're seeing what people are doing years in advance, and people end up on tracks. If
Yeah.
you have someone, so you and I both grew up in karate, and we think about brown belt as being just before black belt. If you have somebody that gets to brown belt and you can send them off with the whites and the yellows and they do a great job of it, you would be a fool not to start having conversations with them at that point about their goals in martial arts and teaching.
Correct. Yep.
I want to open my own school one day. Perfect.
Great.
That's
Perfect
exactly
opportunity.
what I want to hear. I'm going to teach you everything. Some of
Yeah.
it trial by fire.
Yeah.
I'm headed out for 2 weeks. You're running the classes. Well, it's not for a couple months. Let's get you ready,
Hmm.
like everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Now let's talk about an. There's a school here in town
Mhm.
that opened just under a year ago, and the instructor came to free training day, had a great time. He's a brown belt in BJJ, and he's opened.
He owns a school and he's not a black belt, Andrew?
I know, right? He opened an MMA school,
Mhm.
and he opened this MMA school in the truest sense of the word. It is a mixed martial arts school. And in his school, he has separate classes in BJJ, separate classes in judo, separate classes in uh, boxing,
Mhm.
and he wants to offer classes in uh, traditional martial arts striking things.
Cool. I would
And
call that a MOMA school, mixture of martial arts.
okay, sure.
I think I just made up that term, by the way.
Yep. Okay. So when he opened the school, he put a thing out on his website saying, "Hey, we are looking for instructors," because he's like, he didn't put this down specifically, but he's like, I don't do boxing. I'm not a boxing coach. I'm not a traditional martial arts striking. Oh, he also has separate classes in Muay Thai stuff as well.
Cool.
And there are different instructors for all these disciplines, but he owns the school. He has hired these instructors to come in. And in fact, we know someone who
Mhm.
now is teaching at that school. And she came in and said, I have rank in Taekwondo. I'm also studying, traditional Okinawan karate. And I would like to, be interested in being an instructor at your school. And he
Cool.
said, no problem. Come on in and, I'll get to know you, train with me for a bit. And I'll see kind of what you got. And,
Culture and curriculum.
what's that?
Culture and curriculum.
Correct. And he essentially evaluated her to see if she would be a good fit. And
Yeah.
she was. And it formed a great relationship. She actually moved her Taekwondo classes to his space now. She worked out a deal with him, and so her taekwondo. So now his school gets to offer traditional taekwondo because she moved there.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, I'm sure if we dug deeper, of course, we know who this person is. We're not going to name them because we didn't get their permission ahead of time. But if we were to dig more into that process, that evaluation was closer to a job evaluation
Correct.
than it was, I don't know, what's a martial arts evaluation? A rank test,
Yeah, yeah,
right? It
and
was closer to that.
and maybe I'll talk to them about having them come on the show to talk about
Yeah,
that exact thing. The two of them.
that would be really cool. And you know what? Maybe we can find others who have been in this boat because I think there's something really valuable there. I I see martial arts schools as kind of a platform, and the classes sit on top of that. You may only have classes in one style. That's not bad. I'm not certainly not suggesting that. But you have start and stop times. There are different classes. Most schools have kids classes and adult classes. Most schools that I know of have at least 4 classes a week. What is the unifying thing? This is the school. Here are the classes. Think about every other school you know. They have different classes. Whether or not they are specialized, the curriculum might shift around a little bit. And so starting to consider this stuff from this perspective, I think can be really helpful as a
Absolutely.
school owner, which is also what a business owner. Just because it's martial arts doesn't mean you can't apply solid business principles. Just because you apply solid business principles does not mean you have to water down anything, does not mean you have to compromise your values or integrity. It simply
Absolutely.
means that you do things in such a way that it makes your life easier and it serves you in pursuit of your goals for your school.
Yep. Absolutely.
So there we are. Is there anything else we need to add? We bounced around a lot today. This was certainly not our smoothest path episode we've ever done, but I don't think it was bad. I think
Oh,
we wandered around it, but I think we got what we were trying to do.
I mean, what's the part of the thing we talk about all the time is you don't have to agree with us. We just want you to think about things.
Yeah,
I think this gave our audience a chance to
I
think
do.
about. And if you have ideas on this topic, let us know.
We want to hear. We want more feedback. You know, it's funny. Almost every time I pin someone down, not literally, because I've never done this to get feedback, but that would make for some interesting focus groups. Hey, how do we make the show better? And they all say, "It's great. I love it."
It
Oh, okay.
didn't help though.
So, welcome to Martial Arts Radio, the most perfect show ever, because no one ever tells us anything we can do better. Anything else we got to add before we wind
No.
down? All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching or listening. We do appreciate you. Now, if you have feedback, how do you get that to us? Here's the best way. You join the Facebook group, Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio Behind the Scenes, and what you will find that this episode there. Now, if you're listening to it or watching it years in advance, no, you're probably going to be cumbersome to do that. Who knows? Facebook might not even exist then. So what you can do is you can email us, Jeremy at whistlekick.com. Andrew is Andrew at whistlekickmartialartsradio.com, and let us know your feedback. If there are things we've completely missed and we need to do a part two, we may invite you. You don't have to, but we may invite you to come on and share your thoughts. We love pulling people out of the community to come on the show and offer up stuff. In fact, I would say the best episodes we do involve random strangers who want to talk about subjects. Okay. Now, if you value what we do, if you do appreciate Whistlekick and our mission to connect, educate, and entertain, please consider supporting us via Patreon, review, share, buy, whatever it is. Two other things you could do. You could have us in to teach a seminar. I love teaching seminars. We had 12 different events last year. I think we're going for 15 this year. We'll see. We actually have a meeting about that tonight, don't we? And the other thing that you might consider, if you appreciate the no nonsense approach that we bring to some of these topics, consider Whistlekick as a consultant in a consulting role. We will help you grow your school. We will help you make more money. We will help you increase your profit. We will help you bring in more students. If you don't want those things, don't hire me. Don't bring us on. But if you do, and we have a 100% track record in doing those things at schools, reach out. In fact, there's a form you can fill out. Go to whistlekick.com, go to the school section. All right. Our social media is at Whistlekick. And that takes us through to the end. Until next time, train
Train
hard,
hard,
smile,
smile,
and
and
have a
have a
great
great
day.
day.